This happened to me about 10 years ago in a small rural town in nowhere, Idaho. I'm a female and I was 14 at the time. It was the summer of 2012 on a warm, humid night. My friends and I were walking through our small town, just being your typical teens, talking about the movie The Dark Knight Rises we had just watched. As I casually looked down at my phone, I realized we were cutting it close to our curfew, and we decided to take a shortcut through the cemetery. It was a very old cemetery, where some of the graves' headstones were no more than rubble. It had a distinct earthy smell to it, due to the humidity. As odd as it sounds, it felt welcoming. It was late, after hours, and I'm pretty sure it was illegal for us to be there at the time. But we really weren't doing anything, other than cutting through, which we would often do during the day as well. As we were walking down the path, we saw a pair of headlights turning into the cemetery, and the boys, of course, darted away, leaving me behind as they disappeared beyond the tree line. Since the boys ran ahead of me, off the path, and away from the lights, it was pitch black. There was residual light twinkling through the branches as I made my way down into the trees, but there was a slope, and it dropped down to a slight dip, and the light was lost, enveloped now by almost complete inky blackness. I carefully walked along, trying to be as quiet as possible and to not trip, almost blind due to the fact my eyes haven't adjusted yet. And that's when the feeling of dread started settling in. I had no idea where the boys were. I couldn't see, and I didn't want to be caught by the police by myself. But there was something else. Almost a chill in the air on this warm night. I tried to brush off this uneasy feeling, thinking it was just my nerves, or being scared because the boys took off without me, but alarms were going off in my head. The core of me having this unattainable warmth. I knew something was off. Something was very wrong. I shouldn't be out here. As that thought hit me, I could just make out a shape to the left of me. A dark outline of someone even darker than the night. As I'm walking, getting closer towards it, "Hey, guys, is that you?" I whispered, and nothing. No response. I take a few more steps forward, and I swear to God, just like the movies, a freaking twig snaps under my foot. Now, the reason I had thought it was the boys is because this shape was crouched down next to a pile of brush, and it was big enough to look like two people hunched over. I thought they had been hiding there. But when the twig snapped, I stopped in my tracks. This thing slowly rose, standing, its haunched figure now showing its mass. It easily towered over me. I was only 5 foot tall at the time, and this was easily two of me stacked right on top of each other. Whatever it was only 15 feet or so away from me, and I was frozen. I couldn't move. I even forgot my own existence. The sheer size of it and the dark outline only added to the soul-shattering fear. Standing there, looking into its gaze, I could hear this inhuman whispering all around me. It was as if the whispering had a spell on me, taking control of my body. It was just me and this thing that seemed like the personification of darkness itself. We stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. The woods around me through the peripheral of my eyes grew darker, like looking down a tunnel that closed around me. My heart pounding so hard, I could feel it through my entire body. Every nerve in my body was prickling. I was beyond cold, like the touch of death that was mere feet away from me, and its soulless eyes that made me feel like I was staring into the abyss of hell. Neither of us moved. We were locked in one of the most terrifying staring contests for what felt like a lifetime, until a strange feeling came over me. I felt like I could move again, and I had the energy to run a marathon. Then I heard a very calm but stern voice say, "Go, now, run." It's kind of hard to explain where the voice was coming from exactly. It was sort of in my head, but all around me at the same time. I'm getting chills just talking about it. I know the voice did not come from whatever this thing was in front of me, because when I heard the voice speak, it looked as if this hard creature recoiled at the sound of it. It took a step or two backwards and kind of ducked its head down. This was my chance, and I turned away from this creature and bolted down further into the tree line, no longer caring about being quiet, and I crashed through the bush like an animal chased by a predator. I could feel this thing right on my tail, but after running about 200 feet or so, I ran directly into the boys, literally crashing into them. I was obviously scared and pissed, so I asked why the fuck they left me like that. Apparently I had been missing for almost an hour, and they had already searched the direction I ran from. I didn't understand. How was that possible? I knew I hadn't been gone that long, not even close. In their search, they said they heard weird whispering voices all around the woods while I was gone, like the voices were coming from everywhere around them. It was impossible to pinpoint the direction of the voices, and they said the moment they saw me and I crashed into them, the whispering suddenly stopped. I told them about what I saw. We all agreed we need to get the hell out of there. We left the cemetery, and the moment we walked past the gates, this deep foreboding that sunk so deep within me, it was like part of my being just left, as if though I had forgotten what reality even was. We never talked about that night again, even during the day. None of us ever took that shortcut through the cemetery anymore. I still don't understand how so much time passed that night, being in the same place with different times, but every so often when I'm lying in bed at night, I can hear the whispers.